Hello, everyone, and welcome to our presentation today about the GED option. My name is Anne, and I'm with GED Testing Service. Today, I'm going to start with introducing the GED option and what it is. Over the years, many states have been using the GED option, and other states have been interested, but wondering how to implement a successful GED option program in their state. So today, we're going to highlight several states that have done just that. To start with, Beverly Godwin will talk a bit about Virginia's program, and then Sherry Holly will introduce you to how the program is run in Wisconsin. Finally, Debbie Fawcett will take us through a case study of Louisiana and how they started their GED option program. So what is the GED option and who does it help? It's important to know that it is for students who are at risk of dropping out or who are credit deficient. It is an alternative pathway for them to earn a high school credential. The programs are administered at the local level, and this allows teachers to create an individualized learning plan for their student. In order to give you a framework to work within, GED Testing Service in some jurisdictions created 9 guiding guidelines aimed to help you. The purpose of the guidelines is to maintain the integrity and credibility of the GED test, and also to provide jurisdictions the latitude and flexibility to meet their students' needs. There are 2 types of guidelines. There are 6 guidelines related to instruction and 3 guidelines related to administration and testing issues. The way that states use the GED option at the local level usually is a combination of using the tests with other courses that creates an individualized program for the student. The program can include other courses such as resume writing and interviewing skills, as well as personal finance, civics, or health. Some states are including trades in their program. This can be great for the student. They graduate with a trade and can find work. Who is responsible for the GED option? While the responsibility will be determined by the governance rules in your state, we know that typically the responsibility falls under the K-12 department with collaboration from workforce or adult education. To learn more about the GED option, you can go to our website at ged.com, and there is a page introducing the GED option, as well as an in-depth document outlining all of the 9 guidelines. You can also learn more about the GED option from your state relationship manager. Now I'm going to turn it over to Beverly to tell you about Virginia. Beverly?
My name is Beverly Godwin, and I am the High School Equivalency Specialist with the Virginia Department of Education. The Board of Education believes that the first option for every high school age student should be to work towards completing the requirements for a standard or advanced studies diploma. Although every effort should be made to counsel students to remain in high school through graduation, there are circumstances when this is no longer a viable option. In such cases, the board desires to provide students with a second opportunity to exit high school with a well-recognized credential and the knowledge and skills necessary for a successful transition to adulthood, an option more desirable than dropping out of school. Virginia began participating in the GED Options program almost 24 years ago. We call our Options program the Individual Student Alternative Education Plan Program, or ISAP for short. Over the years, ISAP has served as a safety net for many students who, for a variety of reasons, were at risk of leaving school before graduation. Since the program's inception in Virginia, thousands of students have been able to participate in this alternative option and leave school with a high school equivalency credential, as well as other skills to help prepare them for life after high school. So today I will provide a high-level summary of how the GED Option program works in Virginia. So the guiding principles of the ISAP program begins with the Code of Virginia in the section that speaks to compulsory attendance requirements and how these requirements can be met. In Virginia, the compulsory attendance age is 18. ISAP is one of the approved means of meeting compulsory attendance requirements if the student is at least 16 years of age. The program is unique because it is the only recognized program in our state which allows students under the age of 18 to take the GED test while still enrolled in the K through 12 school. ISAP students also count towards division funding, and they're counted in the average daily membership of the school division. Also, ISAP students who earn their GED credential are counted in the state graduation and completion index. As depicted in the chart, there are two main entities that offer the ISAP program: school divisions and additional approved programs. The majority of the programs are operated in most of the 132 school divisions across the state. Those choosing to offer the ISAP program are eligible to receive state grant funds to support their programming. Regardless of funding, all schools and programs that offer the program have some level of local flexibility, but they must adhere to the state programmatic guidelines that are enumerated in the minimum state assurances. The overarching goal of the program is to provide an alternative education option for students. In Virginia, we have what's called the Profile of a Virginia Graduate, which focuses on the 5 C's as depicted in this example: critical thinking skills, collaboration, communication, creative thinking, and citizenship. So, whether a student is a traditional graduate with a high school diploma or an ISAP graduate with a high school equivalency credential, each needs to be prepared to transition to post secondary opportunities, the workforce, and to be life ready. Our students engage in a variety of activities focused on these 5 C's, as well as the successful completion of all component parts of the ISAP program. Each student has an individual plan that includes these key components of the program, which are highlighted in red: GED preparation, participation in CTE and work-based learning, career guidance, and economics and personal finance education. As far as the ongoing program activities, students typically engage in their ISAP activities concurrently. While students are working on their academic preparation and career guidance, they must also complete the CTE and economics and personal finance requirement. With respect to GED testing, students may begin taking the GED test at any point during their ISAP journey, as long as they have qualifying scores of 145 or better on the GED Ready subject test. We do emphasize the importance of completing all component parts of the program, and we do not encourage full GED test completion before other components are completed. As far as testing eligibility, assessments are administered as soon as a student is referred to the program. If the student meets the program eligibility requirement based on preliminary entrance and reading scores, they are then enrolled into the program. The students are still enrolled in school, of course, and they do not have to unenroll to participate in the ISAP program. As stated earlier, the student may begin testing when they earn a 145 or better on a GED subject area test. We do allow the student to focus on one subject at a time if they choose to do so. Because the students are identified in their GED accounts as an options program student, or they are under the age of 18, there are alerts in their accounts. This is what we refer to as their accounts being blocked from taking the GED test. Whenever an option student is deemed ready to take a GED test at the local level, a testing eligibility form must be submitted to the state office for approval. This certifies that the student has met the testing eligibility requirements, and it must be signed by the appropriate administrators within the school division. Upon approval, the student's GED account is unblocked by removing the age and options program alerts by the GED options coordinator for the state office. The student is then able to register to test either in person at a Pearson VUE testing center or through the online proctored option. Test scores and diagnostic reports are readily available to the ISAP teacher, as they have access to the student's account whilst the student remains enrolled in the program. Program technical assistance and monitoring. Realizing that the ISAP programs in each of the school divisions and other approved programs will vary based upon their students' needs and available local resources, regular technical assistance and monitoring are critical to program quality. This visual provides 3 reasons why this is necessary. 1, it ensures general program compliance. 2, it supports continuous program improvement. And 3, it helps to glean promising practices to be shared with all programs throughout the state. Technical assistance can span and format from planned professional development activities, daily responses to inquiries, to targeted technical assistance with monitoring activities. We really strive to help programs work through local challenges and capitalize on opportunities so that they can offer the best program possible in their communities. The previous slides have provided a thumbnail sketch of the options program through ISAP in Virginia. What factors do we feel have contributed to the success of this program? One of the most important factors is our caring and dedicated instructors. Additional factors are the fact that students have an opportunity to move away from the large comprehensive setting into smaller classes with more opportunity for one-on-one instruction. Many programs offer flexible schedules and formats. Students benefit from blended learning, where they can benefit from a classroom teacher and having digital resources. Students that have struggled in school are able to work at their own pace and begin to experience success. They see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Students are able to engage in a variety of relevant activities that help prepare them to enter post-secondary educational programs or training in the workforce. And it's really about building the program around the needs of the student. With everyone working together, we help our students get started on a career pathway that matches their skills, aptitudes, and interests. This concludes my presentation. If you have any questions about Virginia's GED Option program, please feel free to contact me at the email address on the slide. Thank you.
Thanks, Beverly. That was really good. I would like to introduce Sherry Hawley to you. She will tell us about Wisconsin's GED Option 2 Credit Recovery Program. Sherry?
Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Sherry, and I am the Wisconsin Alternative Education Consultant at the Department of Public Instruction, serving K through 16 and the GED and High School Equivalency Diploma Administrator. Our Option 2 program is very successful and well recognized across our state and beyond. You can go on to the next slide. So, Wisconsin's program is over 20 years old and has a lot of similarities to Virginia's program. Wisconsin law states that a school board may grant a high school diploma to a pupil who has not satisfied the credit requirement if the student was enrolled in an alternative education program. Therefore, all of our students in the GED Option 2 program get a regular high school diploma. Local school boards determine that the pupil has demonstrated a level of proficiency in the subjects for which credits are required, equivalent to that which they would have attained if they had satisfied the credit requirements. The GED Option 2 program is a credit recovery program that allows authorized school districts to use the GED test battery to measure proficiency in lieu of high school credit. A student who passes the GED tests and completes the other requirements for graduation is entitled to that traditional high school diploma from their home high school. Next slide. A school district seeking to offer the GED Option 2 program must comply with all the Department of Public Instruction's assurances. In addition to submitting the narrative describing the district's proposed program, the district also must agree to those assurances and programming requirements. Some of those requirements are that the students served will be at least 17 years of age. Students must attend school for a minimum of 15 hours a week until they take their last test. Teachers must be licensed in the area they teach or hold an alternative education license, and students served should be able to demonstrate an ability to read at or above the ninth grade level. We have also had an interest in students being able to do the GED Option 2 program virtually since we are now allowed to take GED tests through OnView. Next. So where does a GED Option 2 program fit into our education programming in K-12? We find the GED Option 2 program in our educational program or alternative education schools. It is partnered with competency-based education programming and reduced credit programs. We use it at our Wisconsin Challenge Academy, and it can be found in individual education plans. The GED Option 2 program is flexible and is even used to partner with CTE and other work-based programs. Next. When a student enters a GED Option 2 program, a holistic review is completed to determine what that student needs. This is an example of what that might look like. On the left, you will see all the requirements a school may have, and then the next column is the student's current status, and then the plan. And in our state, students only have to take GED tests in the areas they're credit deficient. In this case, the student would need 3 GED tests. Next slide. We also recommend that districts annotate the GED competency on student transcripts. And this is done in a few different ways, but this is an example of one transcript where the score is annotated and a pass is given along with credit. Next. Every year, our GED Option 2 programs have to fill out an end of year report, and I'd like to share some of the top 5 common responses of why their programs are successful. The first one is the graduation rate. We have an 80 to 100% graduation rate for all our GED Option 2 students. This also helps these students graduate with their class, and it is a greater opportunity for credit recovery and increases student success with earning a diploma. We also have a high attendance rate of 80% or higher. Next. I mentioned earlier that sometimes these programs are connected with career and technical education, and I wanted to share some of the highlights from our end of year report. These are the top 5 common responses from enrolled students of what they are planning to do and their connection. The first one is work-based learning, career awareness, employability awareness, career and technical education courses, and the use of Zello. And the next group of information is the post-secondary plans of our students. Number 1 is employment, followed by vocational technical college, 4-year college, job training programs, some other programs, and of course the military. Next. In order to complete the GED Option 2 program, all GED Option 2 students must receive a high school diploma, and GED test scores should be put on their transcript. An option student may finish testing when the student is ready and may graduate early due to a legislature permanent age waiver rule. The student could also be working towards their post-secondary goals and can even take elective courses at the high school or post-secondary courses or begin employment. Next. The program is managed at the Department of Public Instruction, and it is done by myself. Districts apply and are approved by our program through an application and a narrative. We have virtual monthly meetings that are held with all the GED Option 2 teachers and directors. We use this time for professional development, answering questions, and providing a sense of community. Some schools do their own testing on site using GED OP tests, which is the online proctor test, and then the end of year reporting is required. And that information that we gain through the end of year report is used to highlight some of the successes and also help steer us in the future with some data-driven decision making. We have over 230 GED Option 2 programs in our schools. In addition, teachers are invited to an annual conference, Wisconsin's National At-Risk Education Network Conference, held every February. Next. In GED Manager, much like Virginia, teachers request access to the Prep Connect in GED Manager, and students can then select their high school as their prep center. And schools work with local test centers and for test administration. And GED Option 2 students are identified in our jurisdictional questions. And when I mentioned like the other state, it's their accounts will be flagged unless this is cleared by the assessment center. Next.
All
All right. Thanks.
Thank you, Sherry. Okay, finally, I'm going to turn it over to Debbie Fawcett to talk about what Louisiana did and how you might get things started in your state. Debbie?
Thank you, Anne, and welcome to all of you who are viewing this presentation. My name is Debbie Fawcett. I've been with the testing service for the past 12 years, but prior to that, I did well over 20 years in Louisiana state government, culminating as the state director for adult ed and GED testing in Louisiana. I was a division director in the Department of Education, and then the first director at LCTCS, our Louisiana Community and Technical College System, when we moved adult ed from the Department of Education to LCTCS. I was the first director of their Work Ready U program. While at the Department of Education, we also, as a division director, not only was I over adult ed and GED testing, but I was also over many other at-risk youth dropout prevention programs, and in addition, career and technical education program. Because of the variety of the programs that I directly administered, we also looked at the GED option in our state. Next. Excuse me, as a state administrator, over the years, we happened to be caught right in the conundrum of the high school redesign. And in dropout prevention or in high school redesign, it is just we wanted to help our students. And there were three main things that we paid attention to. When we did the GED option program, if you know anything about the history, it started back around 1988 because a couple of states went directly to the testing service to find out if they could get a waiver. Because if you knew the testing service in those days, you could only take the GED test if you had dropped out of school. And these states wanted to have permission to perhaps do a program, a dropout prevention program of some sort, where students would be identified and would be able to take the GED test while still remaining in school. GED Testing Service did that as a pilot. The pilot was very successful. And then by the late 1990s, early 2000s, the program was then made available to all of us. At the same time, in those early 2000s, if you know, the hot topic was high school redesign. But you can't talk about high school redesign and raising higher standards before someone's going to enter into the conversation. What about the dropout rate? What's going to happen to our students who are already having trouble with these standards? Are we going to see an increase in the dropout rate? So whether it was an intentional thing or not, those of us who served the at-risk youth were very pleased that it brought attention. The high school redesign brought attention to both the upper end, wanting to raise the standards for students, but then what do you do about the students who are captured and who are already having struggle and are at risk? So what we discovered, it was really a plus. High school redesign was something that was very much a plus for us. At the same time that we were looking at the GED option program that the testing service had made available to us, we were also being looked at under the microscope from the high school redesign folks. And what we discovered through high school redesign was what we really already knew. There were a diverse number of programs statewide trying to attack dropout prevention, at-risk youth. But we also knew there was not a lot of communication among the programs. In Louisiana, we have parishes versus your counties. every parish had their own spin on what was best for students. When you have that much difference in the way programs are presented, the next thing that's going to happen is that you have very little data or collection to show what's working and what's not working. And we captured in there some of what we felt were our most successful programs at the state level as we looked across the parishes in Louisiana to see who was doing what. We identified some of the programs that were working, and it also helped us understand, and we really knew as state administrators that even though it may not have been allowed, we had certain parishes that may have been pulling students out. They were identified, whether you called it at-risk or dropout prevention. They had a subset of students who are already in a GED preparation program as a K-12 student. Well, the option program fit perfectly for us because those K-12 students being prepared to take the GED, when they thought they were ready, we would put them through the angst of dropping out of school so they would be eligible to take the GED test. But the GED option program saved us from having to have students go through that angst of being a dropout to take the GED test. We came up with a program in Louisiana that we called Employ. It was education's mission to prepare Louisiana youth. As Anne talked about, and you've heard from my colleagues in Virginia and Wisconsin, it may have had the framework of the option program, but we gave it our own spin and we made it our own. And I can tell you right now, that's probably the beauty of the GED option program. Probably nobody anywhere in your state will know what GED option is, but they're going to know the perfect program that you've designed to best serve your students. What we did in Louisiana, because high school redesign was looking at all these things, we were taking the best of the best. And so when we put Employ together, we took AE preparation, adult education preparation in K-12 that we already knew was happening or occurring, and we gave the ability or the blessing to have that done. We also looked at the Jobs for America's Graduates program. That was another national program that was operating in the state in some parishes. Jobs for America's Graduates had one of the missing links that we felt was missing in just straightforward GED preparation, and it was the counseling or the mentoring component. Very much the same program. They're going to be in GED preparation, but they had a mentor that they met with who counseled them. And a lot of our at-risk students need that extra support. So we pulled that from the Jobs for America's Graduates program. And the other thing, many of these students, as you all know in your schools, perhaps post-secondary in a four-year college is not what they're looking for, but post-secondary certainly is on their radar in the trades or the skills, or to get an associate's degree and then move to a four-year college. So we hooked that program into our community and technical colleges, and it was a statewide effort. The department paired with the community colleges and our post-secondary folks, and we meshed together a program where students were in school for 15 hours a week in GED prep, and then we would have them go for the afternoon to a technical college in their parish, and they were working on their industry-based certifications. There were other ways of combining it, but that was sort of the most overarching method. And next. So that's the nuts and bolts of what we designed under our permission from GED Testing Service to have an option program. And we had some great successes in those years. most of it because every agency was held accountable, from our state agencies, from the K-12, our state superintendent held us accountable, and we had to report literally to the different boards. So I was in K-12 at the time we did this, but I had to coordinate an annual report with our community colleges who were tracking how were people succeeding. I had the educational component. The community colleges had the skills component, the skills and the industry-based certifications. And through Jobs for America's graduates, we had those reports and we went as partners to each of our defining boards, whether it was the State Board of Education for K-12 or the Board of Directors for community colleges, or to our board for the Louisiana college system. But that's where you had success, where it had to stay coordinated. Everybody was working together. So we did have success, and you can see that in the chart there, because it all came together in an annual report and we went as a team and shared the data. Next. So what we know about the options program, several things that came out of it. It is an additional resource that we offered to students. When we had this idea, we didn't think we were reinventing the wheel. Every school district has programs for at-risk youth. It's not about seeing, can we show you another thing totally different? No, it is about a collaboration of the existing resources. Where do these ideas fit into what is already going on in your at-risk programs or your programs, dropout prevention programs? So there are two ways of looking at it, and we would never presume to come in like nobody had ever thought of these ideas before, because they're out there. But it was the way that we could collaborate the resources and everybody buy in. So that's a great thing about the option program. You are trying to enhance what is already available. And if that means you craft it into a different type of program, an additional offering, so be it. You have the attention. Many times these dropout prevention courses or at-risk youth programs, they don't have necessary a completion factor. We all know we want them to get a diploma, or is the GED the best option? And these dropout prevention programs may not have all of the same kind of ending or terminal points. But if you're in the option program, it's clear cut. The GED test is a nationally approved assessment for high school completion. So the components of the program, as I have stated, they have many similarities to other dropout prevention and at-risk student programs, with resources that you can leverage to either create another named program or leverage to embed the GED as a terminal point in some of your other named dropout prevention or at-risk programs. And the other thing, the closing thought about it, we understand when we're talking about an option program that it depends upon what your state calls the acquisition of a credential by passing the GED test, whether it is a diploma or whether it is a certificate. Every state superintendent wants to have a diploma in their students' hands, but we also know the reality. So sometimes it's just looking at the data, but your state accountability measures are where you can make some decisions, because we know in the federal accountability measures, you have to be consistent across all 50 states. Federal accountability does not allow us to count the GED in many sites. But your state accountability system, you have some flexibility with your assessment team in how you want that terminal credential to count in the state report card, not in the federal report card. But the fact that you have that option and you have that flexibility is one of the stress points that you should include in your conversations and collaborations about the program. Next. So we've talked You've heard 3 different slants on how the GED option program was administered in different states across the country, and that's great. And we are talking to you as a state administrator, and your next question is talking about the elephant in the room. Where do we go from here? From the state administration, talking about it at the state level, to actually getting it implemented at the local level. Next. There are considerations and next steps, and we at GED Testing Service are here to work with you at each one of these program levels. As you want to start the conversations, as you want to consider it, at the state level, the most important thing is to partner with GED Testing Service so that we can provide the option program. But you can't do it alone. It starts in the adult ed arena with our state adult ed director and our state GED examiner. You are the one, you know the program, but we know that it probably is going to be a K-12 administered program. So you've got to step, as a state administrator, you've got to have those hard discussions with the people in your state offices over K-12 and over assessment are the 2 primary areas. Once you've had those discussions at the state level, you all can come to terms on what are the state program guidelines that we want to set for options program, because you're not going to administer it at the local level. It's going to be a decision once you've got the framework and you know what you want as the model framework for districts to implement at the local level. Make it known to your districts. Here again is where you call on GED Testing Service. We can partner with you, and I'm going to give you an idea of what we've done in some other states. We then go to the state. Okay, thank you. Whenever you've set your state guidelines, now tell us, give us some ideas of some of your districts that you get good cooperation with or you think would be amenable to hearing about this. We are happy to contact the local education agencies along with you and your permission to go and talk to those agencies about implementing this program. And if you say, just go and talk to them, the first call they're going to make is back to the state office because they want to make sure that the state has guidelines. That's why it's so important to start at the state level. Then we go to the district. We want to meet with those local superintendents and the directors and coordinators in the district offices of K-12, curriculum and assessment, and your adult ed and GED partners. If they at the district level think, yes, we think this would be a good idea, we don't want to put it in all of our programs, maybe we'll talk about 3 or 4 of our programs. Let's start a pilot. We again are happy to be the forward-facing people with your locals to talk about the coordination that's needed, the students that will be served. So those, you've heard the explanation of what it can look like. I hope considerations and next steps lays the maps out for you. How do we get this implemented from the state thinking it's a great idea to a local program actually serving students? And next.
Okay, thanks, Debbie, for telling us Louisiana's story. And you can see that each state does things slightly different, and they all call their programs something different. But at the end of the day, they're all successfully graduating their students. Here's our contact information. Feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.